Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming solar eclipse taking place in the sign of Aries around the 19th or 20th of April depending on where you are on the planet, and it takes place at 29 degrees 50 minutes of the sign of Aries. So it is a very powerful karmic fated eclipse that will, leave in a symbolic way, of course, a crater. It will leave an impact. No, this energetic degree is heavily energetic, so it is touching Taurus. It is the gateway from Aries onto Taurus. So even though the specific of the energy, how it will manifest, the alchemical composition, if you will be Aries-like. You know, very strong impulse, strong initiation, a strong, sometimes fated moment. It comes with a great strength, great force, great intensity into our lives, like the battering ram. It comes and it leaves a mark, an impact. It changes us, and this is where the change is targeting really Taurus. It changes our lives in a permanent way, whatever this may birth, because there is a strong birthing element to it, which I'll get to in a moment. But whatever it may birth in our lives, well, it is meant to stay with us for the long term, or if not, why not, for some of us, the rest of our lives, because it is, as I said, targeting Taurus. That is, Taurus is the energy that will incorporate this. It will, you know, be its host. I'm looking for the right symbolism here, like its matrix, its mother matrix, which accepts the energy into herself. So a birth element. Of course, what makes this an eclipse? It's very important. And also, this is an annular eclipse, so the ring of fire. That is very Aries-like. And that is also very suggestive because in a few moments we will get to what this eclipse does. So, astrologically speaking, the details. But let's just look at it more generally, first of all. So, this is like a ring of fire. It is very relevant in that sense. So, the North Node at this moment is going to be in 4 degrees of the sign of Taurus, and the sun and moon, the new moon conjunct, of course, always 29 degree of Aries. That holds an outer sun conjunction with the North Node. So it's quite a, tight, astrologically speaking, tight eclipse. It's quite relevant. It's quite significant. North Node being in Taurus, that is where it leaves the change. It's permanent change, and it also births something because Taurus is the quite physically the fertility of the earth, the fertility of the female element, the fertility of the soul, the fertility, of the self. In any ways, of course, the sensual expression is really the not so interesting part here. The other elements, which are higher than that, is truly what we need in our lives because, collectively speaking, this will leave an economic impact without a shadow of a doubt. It will cause a moment of big disruption, economically speaking, regardless of the cause of it. We might not really know the cause. We might not even able to predict the cause because the fated element of the eclipse, whatever the cause, well, we must be very certain that it will speak for itself, it will have a message in itself, collectively speaking, of course. Why? Because Pluto is also involved in this, and Pluto in Aquarius, well, it's for everyone to know, everyone to see, everyone to be aware of it. And Aquarius is a Uranian sign, so everyone learns from this and everyone will have an opinion, a saying, etc. We cannot neglect the moon in this equation, the emotional world, and in mundane astrology call it the collective feeling. So that's also there eclipsed. Any eclipse is like a reset moment. When you would press the reset button on the old fashioned computers, it blocks out the power, the juice, for a few moments, a moment, and then it restarts the fresh, the new. It really, really comes, it installs itself. Now, quite individually speaking, the same thing is very true. Where does this eclipse fall into your chart? For example, I have my best friend, it falls exactly on her Jupiter. So for her, it will, whatever the eclipse brings, it will be expanded. So this is just an example. Where does fall into your chart, and does it hold something quite important, like the example I used previously, because you are going to be feeling it, and as I said, a permanent change. But you know, it doesn't really matter how it manifests, how it affects you. These energies really, really invite you to make it your own, to turn it into something positive, to use it as resource. According to your specific situation, story, how it will unfold in your life, but to use it as positive. Use that Jupiter. Misuse it, like abuse it if you have to. But that's the in belief and optimism, in, maybe not in a foolish, hard headed way. Yet sometimes this eclipse would really not surprise me if that is the key to success as well. Because why not energetic? That means it's intense. Energetic. So not, no, for real. But energetically speaking, energetic Aries is the fight, is the struggle. It is the hero's moment of glory. You know, it can be for some heroes when they're just one step away from defeat, from demise. But, that's exactly when Divina Ex Machina, or how you call it, the divine intervention, the divine machine, the construct of reality intervenes and fate unfolds. It's not how the hero expected to be, but neither what the opposing part of the hero is. And usually it's in the favor of the hero. It is a very, very powerful breakthrough energy. Fate brings something to us, regardless of which area of life this is. Even if there isn't any planet on there or anything, fate brings something to us, and it would be wise of his Jupiter, advised divinely, again Jupiter, for us to turn it into something positive, to use it as resource, to not, get all disappointed that it didn't meet our expectations. That's the worst thing that we can do. Another thing that I would like to mention before it leaves my memory, um, usually I would advise on an before an eclipse that anything to influence it, magic, intentions, etc., etc., even though it's a new moon, even though, is not so advised, because on one thing you cannot change anything, and the other thing, God help you if you manage to change anything, because you changed the divine plan, so you're responsible. Anyway, but this specific eclipse almost wants us to do that. Not, either it's my way or the highway, and no, 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 not in a radical, foolish, silly Taurian. This is why the energetic Aries and not Taurus, even though it affects Taurus, because Taurus is not good at this. That's why Aries, the very, very last spark of Aries, is brilliant at this. Taurus is very good at holding it, keeping it, making sure this moment is memorable, or whatever this moment conjures up, may it be psychological, spiritual, physical, material, financial, inner value, whatever, it is held for as long as possible. But for Taurus to actually birth it within itself like this, it's not good, because Taurus has way too many fixations. If not even Uranus, the planet of change, of awareness, of shocks, of turn everything's upside down, doesn't do as much as it should to Taurus, well, you can imagine the resilience of this sign, of this energy of the lower ego, or our comfort zones included here. But however, to nurture something and to crystallize it, make it permanent, value it forever if possible, is that like that, give it to only to Taurus, because it's the best of the best. So this is how this energy kind of translates, alchemically speaking, and we can use this pattern of what I just said, the composing feelings, emotions, elements, and how the divine ultimately sees it, to translate what happens in our lives. Identify where it triggers you, and just use the symbolism of what I thought to put, of what I said, to put together the picture for you. Not in a predictive sense. No, 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 no. Not in that sense. In the sense of what should I be supporting in my life? What should I be fighting for, striving for, the sacred struggle, the breakthrough, the hero's moment? An erratic Aries, like truly the breakthrough. This is where this purpose, this, and as I said, sometimes you don't even know the purpose yet. You will just get caught up in it and then figure out, oh, this is okay. But anyway, it doesn't matter when the moment comes for you. What matters is that this is where you need to immerse into it fully, properly, totally if possible, because this is the breakthrough moment. This is the energy, again, the moment of the intensity of this energy, where the birth factor, the breakthrough factor, the yes, I'm there, yes, I made it from A to B, or for some people, even at the very end of their specific alphabet, that moment is the potential gift. That moment is what Jupiter allures us into believing. And we do need to support it with our thoughts, with our intentions. And Jupiter, because it is conjunct the eclipse in certain ways, uh, how should I say, needs this. Jupiter, in any sign it may be, it when we have a moment of elation, when we have a moment that I am totally embodying my belief. It is truly for everything for my belief because I feel it so strongly. That is when you kind of evoke, everyone with their own tools. Jupiter, you call and you awaken the energy of Jupiter inside of you and expands whatever your purpose, your energy, your fight in this case. So this is where we need to say these things very clearly. We need to be speaking about the things, not just what astrology and alchemy does up there, or when we're just subject to it. No, 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 no. We need to use this as building blocks for our future, because that's the essence of it. For us not to be enslaved by it, but for us to use it and block out the chains which would enslave us, if that even makes sense. And why am I highlighting this? Because this what I just said is kind of written on the eclipse. Aries sovereign energy, the head, the battering ram. There is no controlling the ram. Don't tell the ram where or how it's when it's in full swing. When it's peaceful, when it's playful, when it's all the joy of life, do what you want with the ram, because it will cooperate. But when it lives its moment, it has its eyes, horns, everything set on the target. When it's doing its job, protecting the ram, don't tell it. Don't. The best thing you can do is let it, encourage it, cheer for it. And this ram is an inner power for all of us in one area of life, in one corner of your soul. It is there. And cheer for it. If you cannot help it, don't stand in its way, because this is where you have no chance. It's an eclipse. It's an energetic eclipse. You have don't stand in its way. And we are speaking about an inner force which you have to identify what it is. And even if you are totally zero astrology person, you're just listening to this out of curiosity. You know yourself. You know what is triggering inside of you right now. Is it friendship zone, love center, thoughts, creativity, sexuality, your traumas, your faith, your studies, your new passions, or something that you hate with your all fiber of your beings and want to get rid of your life. This can be part, will be part of it in a sense, because in eclipse something goes, something is cut off. Why? Okay, the North Node in Taurus, birth and the new, and getting there must go there. Certain things on the list, let's say karmically, it's a must be done, and this eclipse is a perfect opportunity to trigger the node like this. But there's the South Node. All that had to be released. And if there's something there, well, that will be released. Like, for example, eclipses, when they hit like delicate parts of someone's chart, for example, health house, etc., or a health planet, it can mean an operation, a general anesthetic. But that is maybe in 3 months' time after the operation, the best thing that happened to the person. Because especially that this eclipse is not, well, we're not speaking about how we're going to feel it through, but it's not destructive. There might be a lot of destruction correlated to it, but what it wants to do, the evolutionary intent, and if you want to, guys probably want to know more about this, an evolutionary astrologer that I used to listen to some time ago, Brian Coulter, something like that, he'll probably have his analysis of this. And yeah, so the evolutionary intent is to break through, to birth some, and to hold permanently that what you birth, what's birthing in life. And for example, this energy is where the boy meets the girl, and the fertility moment, and no one the baby is, the long story short, the baby's born. The eclipse can, and of course that baby will have a, a life worthy of an Aries eclipse, of course. But that's how the baby is born. It eclipses the lives of both the boy and the girl, and the meeting can come chaotically, unexpectedly, and there might be a lot of Pluto attached to it in some people's lives. Because the boy and girl might be actually married and have families of their own, yet still. Now, what is born of this? Conflict, or maybe non-conflict, or maybe a polyamorous relation. No one, that's up to the players. But the baby's born, and that's what matters. That's the evolutionary intent to the universe. And no one can say that that's negative, especially if the eclipse baby is gonna change the world, or. But this is also part of it will play out somewhere in someone's life, for other people, in other people's lives. For example, this is where you beat the illness. You finally beat it. How? Or is it truly beating it, but you're alive, you're okay, and you know that you're going to be okay for long term Taurus. The rest is detail. Or finally the career breakthrough, because you done some radical, I don't know, whatever's in the past few months or maybe year. That can also be part of the picture. Because yeah, you done some extraordinary things which did not pay off, but the energy of that comes back at this eclipse. Because it's like a hole in the whale. If the whale is between the worlds, is also like Saturn, a concrete wall, not a dam. the water, whatever, is definitely not going through. Then there is the moment when it's released. Then there has to be the fissure or the hole or whatever. You can imagine that that which couldn't be born then, but the sacrifice Saturn in the sign of Pisces at the time of this eclipse, trining the south node, exactly what I'm speaking of. What sacrifice was there and could not be allowed into manifestation for whatever reason, let's say, well, be sure that it will find its way at an eclipse moment, especially North Node eclipse, because North Node means also everything that energetically, fatedly, karmically, divine designly has to support you to get where you need to be in life or in whatever. But this is part of the picture, part of the deal. So now that we understand the importance of this eclipse and the intensity that it will come with, we need to look at its major aspect where it holds an outer sign square to Pluto. Pluto, the element of fate. Pluto freshly entered into Aquarius, also being at the degree of the Great Conjunction, the meeting of Jupiter and Saturn in December 2020, the beginning, the astrological beginning of this next 20-year cycle, the new paradigm. Some astrologers think that that was the moment of the entering into the age of Aquarius. Others think other. It doesn't really matter, but it is important. Everyone agrees that in this way or that way, it is important, and it does begin something. So Pluto there makes it real. It brings it into reality because it squares the North Node, it squares the South Node in its home sign of Scorpio. So the square to South Node, that which truly cannot come into the future, it cannot be tolerated even if we want it, even if we are attached to it, even if you love it, even if you're attracted to it, even if it's just part of our always been part of our stories. And for some souls, it was part of previous lives, a lot of previous lives. So you thought it's part of you. No, no. It's some bad habits, bad customs, misaligned beliefs, some illnesses, even some weaknesses, some form of every soul's personal, and I'm so sorry to use this word, craze, can follow you from life to life to life to life. Why? Well, because there was a life when you alchemized it, but in such a way where you love it. Well, it's you love it so much that oh, it's part of me. It's bad, or it's bad. It wasn't bad in that life, but it's kind of bad. Like I don't know, a silly hair that grows in an awkward place. You have to pluck it out. You know what I mean? But you love it. Somehow your soul tolerates it. It's okay with it, like a parasite, or I don't know. It does something to you, so you're okay with it. But it will need to fall off now. And you can imagine that if this is the case, well, you are gonna be feeling it because an energy that you carried within you, life from life to life to life. Bye bye. Not in, not not just in this incarnation, in this lifetime, but in, let's say, from April to most probably July, end of July, August, let's even say the beginning of autumn. But it's bye bye, like it truly now. And, that energy, that's like a massive energetic operation for some people. And I don't want to panic everyone. It was an operation already, as in the operation was already held. Maybe a minor cosmetic, something like a birthmark or this and that and that. Something not life changing, maybe something even just optional, but there was a moment of operation that was a symbol that something truly left you. And now the energy is leaving you. The energy of it is bye bye. Or for other people, this is where it kind of almost says, go ahead with the operation because everything in the sky wants you to succeed. So it's safe, it's okay. Go and do it because you will remove something which, even if it's not really harmful, it takes up energy. And your future, our future, everyone's future, we cannot afford to have on not the basic need, but not physically speaking, but as a soul, as a being, non-basic need energy with us in the future. Because part of the future is our basic needs Taurus, our basic whatever, to again Taurus, and not the complication, not the sophistication, not the, you know, the that which is super complex, that which has a lot of history and a lot of, not that. That's the South Node in Scorpio. That at this moment and for us stepping into the future is definitely not needed. That, again, the sophisticated, the complicated, either goes back onto the shelf or is buried on the layer. It becomes archaeology. Why? Because nothing's new under the sun. It's not lost. Someone will dream it up, reinvent it, or the internet. Pluto, the ruling planet of Scorpio, in the sign of Aquarius, it's on the internet. So it's forever. We will always know what happened, where, when, what project idea someone had. It's there. We know. It's safe. So it can be released. So this is Pluto squaring the South Node. But Pluto squaring the North Node. The birth of it, well, it's not as simple, it's not as easy, in the sense that it's not hard necessarily in a Saturnian way, because Saturn squares the South Node. That's the blessing. It's not hard in a Saturnian way, but it might be hard exactly on a nervous way, as in, an example, I'm ready to quit the smoking, or I understand I have everything that I need, but the nervousness of it. Like, what can you do about the nervous part until your nervous system gets used to it? Not that much, or something Plutonian. So that is where it's not easy. It's not hard. It's not, but nice. It's not easy. And this is where the best thing you can do, allow South Node, Saturn trine, whatever the universe, your soul, your being, your psyche, your body, your hormones, your something within you offers you to make it easy. Accept that, use that, be grateful to that. So the elimination part of the eclipse, perhaps the loss, the permanent change, that which needs to be buried, or the most divine, the highest possible expression of Scorpio, when we put something on the altar and burn it, and the divine rejoices in it, so it's accepted divinely. The sacrifice is accepted, and this is actually literal. This isn't biblical in the sense that, oh, it's a theological construct. No, this is literal. Try it. I challenge everyone to actually try it. Offer something, like from the purity of your heart, to the God, divine, earth, universe, call it whatever, to the divine, and you will feel it, you will know it. It will show you something symbolic, suggestive will happen if it accepts it, and similar if it doesn't. It will, for example, tell you, who are you to give this sacrifice? For example, it it will not take something essential from you. As in, if you sacrifice a great pleasure of yours to it, for example, I won't drink coffee for a month. but that cup of coffee is kind of essential for you. It will reject it. It will tell you, I cannot take it away from you because you cannot offer it. You in your good intent don't see this, but I see it, so I cannot take it from you. Don't offer it. So it will take something suggestive, but it will let you know that it's real. It's real and it listens. Why? Because it has no choice. You do it from the depth of your heart. You summon it. You conjure it. South Node in Scorpio. But would the sacrifice, whatever you offer, be accepted? You will be rejoiced. As in, that's the proper term to use. And this is real and it works. It when it doesn't work and for every it's because you haven't reached the intensity of the emotion yet. And you might argue with me, yes, you have. You don't know how much further, deeper you can go. That's why. If it didn't work, that's the best possible news, because that means your spectrum is infinitely deeper than you think. Anyway, but this is where this kind of magic, this kind of sacredness, this kind of inner alchemy, the pact, the sacrifice works so very, very well. Saturn trine South Node. And this Saturn trine South Node is even valid apart from the eclipse, ignoring the eclipse. So, and actually, it doesn't speak to the eclipse in a, very direct way. It's only outer sign. So, anyway, going back to the eclipse, another thing that I would like to mention is the Sabian symbol of the eclipse, which I find so beautiful. It is where a duck pond and its brood. So basically, the mother duck and the ducklings following her, and they go into this pond. The pond is the symbol of their home, their new home, their habitat, that which will nurture them, that which will, you know, be their universe until they grow up. That's what it is. And it's beautiful. It's so symbolic of the new beginning, of the fresh birth, of protection. The ruling planet of the eclipse, Mars, is in the sign of protection. Cancer, sorry. How symbolic Cancer is, the pond and the protection, the safety. But don't get us wrong, because the pond is the maximum potential thriving and well-being for the mother duck and her ducklings. But that doesn't mean it's not full of danger. But all the dangers of the pond are necessary, because that is the test for the duckling if it's worthy to become an adult or not. Some are not, some will be swallowed, predators, whether so very many things. Or the ducklings own inner disruption. If it chooses to stray away from the mom, it might never ever ever come back. For some duckling who survive the stray moment and will never find a mom or family again, but they still become adults. What an Aries eclipse this is going to be. But this is where the symbolism, I put the symbolism within the symbol. Sorry for that. But anyway, this is for all of us. We are striving, we are fighting, we are needing to create that pond, find the pond and enter to it. The ducklings are our dreams, our future seeds of intent. For some people, I mean, truly, literally, their seed, as in their future children, even if their seed is at the moment of the eclipse still inside them, but it's about the pond, not the seed. The safety, the good habitat, the good conditions, the food, the nurture, the potential, what's under the pond, all the food, all the mystery, all the wisdom, the knowledge. That what's under is the teacher of the duckling. And the mom is the guardian. And mom is Taurian. So Taurian, the mother duckling. So it and the ruling planet Mars being out of bounds. That means it's more extreme than ever. But I'll get to this in a bit later on. But the Cancer, so protective. The parental organism, the parental being, mom, dad, it doesn't really matter here. Because if I'm not mistaken, sometimes, not for every duck species, but for some, the dad also guards the family. For others, not so much. For others, the dad is cast out. Anyway, but the parental consciousness, not to involve genders, well, it's there, it's protective, it's strong, and if it has to be, it's angry. It will not let anything endanger everything. Cancer, it's under its wings, its protection, its shell. So this Mars in Cancer is, for everyone who listened to Star Trek, is where shields on, divert power to maximum shields. It's that kind of moment. So as intense as perhaps violent in certain ways this eclipse can be, shields are on. So perhaps the intensity of eclipse is not even all that big deal for if shields are on the maximum, if you know what I mean. It's not gonna destroy the ship. Maybe it won't even damage it all that much. You never know. Because some beings, some people, some Cancerian natives out there are so good at defense. They're real brilliant at defense. So those are actually the rare few people who, not even an aneretic eclipse in the sign of Aries, which comes as a meteorite or battering ram volcano, uh, is not gonna bother them all that very much. Or if it like shakes them up, it hits them, punches them, they're back very quickly on their feet. Self-care, self-nurture mode, and chances are they're even gonna use this profitably. Because that is very much in the specific of Cancer, heavy Cancer natives, who not just have the sun in it, but other placements. Or who don't have sun, but have everything else. So yeah. So the Sabian symbol kind of says that collectively, we need to do something with our pond. Because our pond is already within our sphere. So chances are we're defending our pond or working towards it, fighting for it, filling it up. Some people filling it up with water. Everyone, what their plan, their sacred struggle at this moment is. Now, another thing that I would like to mention is that this eclipse also is conjunct Jupiter. The conjunction is not exact, but in a way it's still operational. Jupiter expands it. Jupiter brings the justice. Jupiter can bring the divine justice. But this can, without a doubt, there will be a big moment of, again, justice on the world stage. A big court ruling, international tribunal, a military tribunal, something memorable, something quite shocking is gonna be there on the world stage. Now, this energy might be intense because energetic Aries is fire, explosion, all of the more unusual expressions of fire. Because Mars is out of bounds in Cancer, it's not necessarily the boom, big boom that everyone can anticipate. It might manifest in a different way. Mars can be the fire that burns within people, the collective feeling. People are defending themselves from what we'll yet to see. But Mars in Cancer is my country, my border, my nationality, ethnicity, my whatever. And Energetic Aries challenges sometimes that. It says that let us not ridicule human rights. Let's not ridicule it. You know? This is where it might seem collectively as a slap on the wrist for human rights, but it comes from the divine that we ridiculed it as a species. Human rights are don't support comfort. They support the minimal. The minimal. They're not meant to support anything else. Why? Because making us comfortable with it and give in human right, giving us godly powers, as in don't touch me, don't invade me. So that means that you block out fate, karma. You cast the protective bubble to yourself, but then the divine says, okay, but then suffocate in it. You know what I mean? So we must not misunderstand how it affects us collectively. It might be violent, it might be extreme, it might spell a lot of financial trouble. Sadly, Venus at 10 degrees of Gemini at this moment. That means that economy, money, value, and the news about it are dual, duplicitary. We should rather see the North Node. Okay, in Venus' sign. Okay, absolutely. And another thing, Mercury is in shadow. Mercury actually is at a standstill, preparing to go retrograde shortly after the eclipse. Mercury is news, Taurus, value, money, stability, material troubles, material gain, money. Because our well-beings as human being, only if you're blessed enough to live in a tribe who doesn't know civilization, maybe only then you're outside of the sphere of what we call money. But even tribes and everything has exchange. But for everyone else, the question of money will be raised, even if it's 12th house, even if it's a house, area of life, an energy, which usually might, maybe you have a quincunx in your chart with this eclipse. Even if chances are it shouldn't have anything to do with money, it still has to do with money. Like, for example, unconditional love. There are moments in life when even unconditional love needs some money. You know what I mean? So there will be money in the game. But what might shock us collectively, we are yet to see. Is it a collapse? Is it a moment of crisis? Is it austerity? Is it cut down of certain rights? Because if it is, then the energy, it's not my opinion, the energy would say the cut off, the minimalistic, the simplicity is the blessing, and not accept that in our lives. Who might rebel against this? The energetic Aries is, of course, the greedy rich person who cannot accept this, who would rather die. Yes, it's their fight for justice. But for other souls, other souls are on another karmic journey, this might be, like a sack of gold pops down from the sky. For others, still, this can mean that, I must say this. I'm so sorry to involve such things into this, but I saw an IG or TikTok video or something like that where there was a shipwreck, but a modern cruise shipwreck. But everyone survived because I think it was only the crew or whatever. And, they were on a deserted island, but, everyone had survival skills. The group formed, they were cooking, and I'm not sure who the Ray lady was, but she was like either the captain or first mate or the manager, the top director of the company or something like that. And she led the smaller group, but there was the whole group. And the food, the fish, whatever was cooked. And then there is a confrontation between her and an Asian lady, and the Asian lady gave her a very small proportion of the food she cooked. And then, um, She was confronted. I'm like, why isn't this equal? Pluto and Aquarius. Why isn't it fair, equal, the same human rights for everyone? And the Asian lady said, in the company, when the cruise was operation, everything, I was just a cleaning lady, yeah? No problem. I obeyed by the. I was very good at my job. Didn't say anything. Now here, because I hunted, I have this kicking skills. I know what to do. I know what is edible and not. Like, I'm the captain here. And everyone held a moment of silence and kind of approved this. So this is exactly what the eclipse is going to conjure up for some people out there. They will be at the other end of the spectrum without even wanting it, dreaming it, knowing it. Because, what if for any reason in a certain part and not everywhere, there is truly a crisis of personnel and a cleaner is fought over by bigger companies or something, and the cleaner will be paid much more than at any other moment in history or in that cleaner's life in that company. The eclipse conjures up something which was unprecedented. Yes, for that cleaner or for cleaners in that town, but the energy is there. And whatever happened in that town can happen anywhere, everywhere, or at other bigger places in 10 years. You know what I mean? Another thing that Jupiter squares Pallas Athena, also in sign of Cancer. This will call upon the resourcefulness of people. Resourcefulness will be 100% there in so very many different ways. This energy, this eclipse is also conjunct, but this is where the North Node is more conjunct, Vesta. So this represents a passion, but a great defense, a passion in a defensive way, protection, divine intervention, sacredness. Where there is sacredness within even nature, there is sacredness within our impulses and our instincts, our urges. This is where, as I said, Taurus is usually the lower senses, the lower ego, even. If Aries is the impulse, then Taurus is where the lower impulse manifests, the animal. There is sacredness to it. Sometimes it is the animal who is correct, who knows. There is sacredness in the animalistic expression as well. For example, what you crave, the food, the taste, even if it's unusual, it might mean something very important for your body. It might be a substance that ultimately heals you, and it's just your body translates it as a food taste composition. What's something that you might, and not just you crave an experience, a person, a feeling, an emo, something that you might crave. The inner animal is something that you need alchemically. So, this is how the eclipse might prepare all of us. But again, externally, collectively, it might play out in rather violent ways, but we must look at the evolutionary intent of this eclipse. The violence is just the show, how the crater is formed. But ultimately, we must look at the evolutionary intent because this is where it's really packed with resources. I'm so very, very sorry that I've made this so long, and because I wanted to include what this eclipse means for both of the all of the 12 signs of the zodiac, but I guess I have to make that a separate video now. So I'm going to leave this general philosophy of this eclipse at this, and I'm so sorry again for making this so long. Thank you so much for your patience, for bearing with me, for all the love, all the support, all the kindness and generosity. If you'd like to keep on supporting me, you can donate on the PayPal link in the description below. And with this being said, thank you so much again, and then I'll put up a separate one for the 12 signs individually. Thank you again. Until next time, bye for now.